It was early morning, and the taxi park's garage in Accra buzzed with activity. Amina, a young cab driver, had been working under her car's hood for half an hour, unaware of her surroundings. Suddenly, a deep voice interrupted her concentration. "Hello, Amina. It's early morning, and you're already tinkering with your car. What's wrong? Do you need help?" The young woman broke away from her work, stood up, and wiped the sweat off her forehead. She looked comical with smudged engine oil on her nose, holding a dirty rag and wrench instead of a manicure tool. "Hello, Kofi. I've got it under control, thanks. There was an issue with the ignition, but I replaced the plugs, and now it starts perfectly. Let me wash my hands, and we can have some coffee. I haven't even had breakfast yet, and I'm starving. Take out the kenki and fish I made last night. Help yourself." Kofi eagerly rubbed his hands together and savored the treats. "Oh, Amina, you're wonderful. This kenki is delicious. You can fix cars, cook, and you're beautiful. What a pity I'm married and your fiancé is a fool. A smart girl like you should be cherished and protected." Amina let out a heavy sigh, sat down beside him, took a sip of hot, aromatic coffee, and replied, "Don't be offended, but men are all the same. They love you at first, then they disappear into thin air." "Well, I don't need anyone. I'll save up money, have a child, and raise him on my own. Just don't tell Mr. Mensah that I'm pregnant. That money-hungry jerk will kick me out." Before Amina could finish her meal, the radio beeped, and the dispatcher informed her that she had to drive for a client. She shook hands with Kofi and drove off, humming a simple tune to herself. In reality, Amina enjoyed working as a cab driver very much. The day was never boring, filled with interactions with different people and the opportunity to learn the latest news and interesting stories. However, there were occasional mishaps. If someone had told her 3 months ago that she would be working as a cab driver, she probably wouldn't have believed it. Amina's childhood was spent in the countryside. Her mother passed away when she was only 5 years old due to a severe illness, and she never knew her father. Her grandfather took on the responsibility of raising her to prevent her from ending up in an orphanage. He couldn't bear the thought of his granddaughter being alone. Amina loved her life in the countryside, surrounded by endless fields, open spaces, fragrant hay, and her favorite cat. Her grandfather adored her and taught her everything he knew, from farming to driving and repairing their old Peugeot. Together, they rebuilt the entire car. By the time Amina turned 16, she could drive as well as any experienced driver. She passed her driver's license exam on her first try. Then she decided to move to Accra. Amina realized that there were limited prospects in the village, as young people were leaving only the elderly behind. Her grandfather gave her his small savings, blessed her, and wished her well. Amina rented a room and found a job as a waitress in a small cafe. She didn't particularly enjoy the job as she was on her feet all day, and her back would ache by the end of her shift. However, she needed to make a living somehow. Every day during her lunch break at the cafe, a young, handsome man would visit. He always ordered coffee, snacks, and took his time enjoying them. He couldn't take his eyes off Amina, and the feeling was mutual. She felt a bit shy every time she served him. That's how they got to know each other. The man's name was Kwame, and he worked as a manager in a nearby tour company. He lived with his parents, who worked as clerks in a bank. They were an ordinary family. Kwame showered Amina with compliments, flirted with her, and one day brought her a beautiful bouquet of delicate white hibiscus flowers. "Hibiscus for my Amina. You are as beautiful as these flowers. I think about you all the time. Would you like to go to the movies? I already got 2 tickets for the premiere." Amina agreed with pleasure, her heart racing with excitement. And so, the couple began to date. Kwame met Amina in the evenings after his shift, walked her home, and one day decided to stay for good. The girl was ecstatic and hoped they would soon get married, as Kwame had hinted at several times. But everything changed one day when Amina discovered she was pregnant. She took a test and became a little scared. She and Kwame had not discussed children, and there was no wedding planned. She decided to tell Kwame everything that evening and see how he reacted. Kwame remained silent for a long time, frowning. Amina felt hurt and asked Kwame, "Aren't you happy? It's our baby, yours and mine. We should hurry and get married before the belly is visible." "I suppose so," Kwame mumbled incoherently. "It's just too early. I thought you were using protection." "Well, I'll talk to my parents and tell them everything." But after this conversation, Kwame disappeared. He didn't answer the phone and didn't show up for their lunch at the cafe. Amina was exhausted and cried her eyes out, unable to understand what had happened. Why was Kwame behaving like this? Had he had a change of heart? Then someone told Amina something that shattered her. "Amina, don't get upset, but I saw your Kwame yesterday at the mall. He was walking arm in arm with another woman, whispering sweet nothings. When he saw me, he turned away as if he didn't know me. I could be mistaken, but I think it's clear your Kwame has found someone else." Amina cried uncontrollably, unable to believe it. How could it be? How could he? Maybe it was a mistake. What if she was a relative of his? She had to find out, otherwise she'd go crazy. Amina excused herself from work and waited for Kwame outside his office. She waited for 2 hours. Finally, he came out, but he wasn't alone. He was with the same woman from the mall. They got into a fancy car and started kissing passionately. Amina's heart sank. Losing control, she ran toward the car, banging on the glass and shouting, "Cheater! Traitor! What about me? Aren't you ashamed, you scoundrel?" Frightened, Kwame jumped out, pushed Amina away and murmured, "Forgive me. It just happened. Aima is now my fiancé. My parents decided it. I told them everything, and they forbade me from seeing you. Please, Amina, go away. It's over between us." Stunned, Amina slapped Kwame hard. "But I'm pregnant with your child. What am I supposed to do now? Don't you care?" Kwame shrugged. "Well, I don't know. Go to the hospital and solve the problem." "What's the big deal? Please stop screaming and go away." A wealthy woman emerged from the salon, giving Amina a scornful look. "Who is this, Kwame? What does this crazy woman want from you?" Kwame pushed Amina away. "It's nothing. She's just mistaken." Amma approached Amina, looked her in the eyes, and said harshly, "Sweetie, this man is mine. I've decided it, and you better not get in my way. Otherwise you'll be in trouble. My father has connections. I've warned you." Kwame and Amma drove away, dousing Amina from head to toe with water from a puddle. The poor girl stood in the middle of the parking lot, unable to move. It all felt like a nightmare, a terrible dream. Amina couldn't bring herself to go to work. She cried at home for a week, consumed by grief and betrayal. Dark thoughts crossed her mind about going to the hospital to solve all her problems at once, but she was scared. What if something went wrong and she couldn't have children at all? How could she live with the guilt of ending a life? On one of those dark days, Kofi came to visit, asking for medicine for his sick child. He forcefully took Amina to his home, where Ajoa joined them. They gave Amina sedatives, hot tea, and patiently listened to her story. The girl needed someone to talk to pour out her soul, because the pain of her lover's betrayal was tearing her apart. She told everything without holding back. Kofi listened, shook his head, remained silent, and then quietly asked, "What a mess. Your Kwame is a jerk. What can I say? What are you going to do now?" Amina shrugged. "I missed a week at the cafe, so I was obviously fired. I'll have to go back to the village to my grandfather. But how will I face him? The shame. I don't know how I'll make a living." Kofi scratched the back of his head. "No, going back to the village isn't a solution. What will you do there, milk cows? Listen, you mentioned you have a driver's license and drive well. Come work at our taxi company. We're short on drivers, but our boss, Mr. Mensa, is very watchful. So you'll need to be diligent. You'll earn a good monthly salary if you're not lazy. You can save money for the baby, and then go on maternity leave. Just keep your pregnancy quiet. If Mr. Mensa finds out, he won't take you." Amina wiped her tears and looked at Kofi with gratitude. "Thank you, Kofi. This is my dream job. I've loved speed and the road since childhood, and I'm a skilled driver. I'll start a new life. I'm done with that cafe. I'll come tomorrow then, okay? Thank you, both of you. I need to hurry and clean myself up. I look like a mess, swollen from crying." Ajoa patted Amina on the shoulders. "Good girl, Amina. You can't give up. Why should you let this jerk ruin your life? When you give birth to your little one, you'll realize that his happiness is the most important thing. Everything will work out and will help you. Don't worry." And so Amina found herself working at the taxi company. At first, Mr. Mensa didn't believe she would succeed. He questioned how she would handle heavy client luggage and fix the car if something went wrong on the road. But then he saw how confidently Amina drove and how she could handle small malfunctions on her own. She performed her duties well. So he decided to hire her. The girl perked up and felt more cheerful. Now she had no time to dwell on her pain and cry. The whole day flew by as she drove and interacted with clients. Amina ran to work with joy. Her belly wasn't visible yet, and she wore loose sports hoodies and sweatshirts so she could continue working until her maternity leave. Luckily, her health didn't let her down, and she didn't suffer much from morning sickness. Occasionally, her back would ache from sitting for long periods, but it was still better than carrying trays. The only thing that bothered Amina was the intrusive and greedy Mr. Mensa. At the end of each shift, he demanded a minute-by-minute report. He even installed cameras in the cabs to monitor how the drivers interacted with customers and to ensure no money was mishandled. Despite this, the team was excellent, and Amina found it easier to work with men. No gossip, no drama, everyone was focused on their work. She remained friends with Kofi, and they would drink tea from a thermos and talk about life. One day, Amina received a lucrative order. She needed to drive far out of the city to pick up a client who promised to pay well for the long-distance trip back to Accra. Amina was in a great mood, humming a song as she drove. She was already planning where she would place the crib and where to buy an affordable stroller. She calculated how much she needed for all the preparations, trying not to dwell on Kwame. It was difficult, and sometimes tears would well up, but she focused on her future and the baby. Upon arriving at the requested location, Amina's mood quickly changed. She found herself at a huge mansion where a wild party was taking place. The client was extremely drunk and kept changing his mind about getting into the cab. 10 minutes later, the homeowner canceled the call. Amina felt upset, having wasted fuel and time without earning any income. She knew Mr. Mensa would scold her, but it wasn't her fault. To make matters worse, the weather turned, and heavy rain poured down from the darkening sky. As she was halfway back to town, a figure emerged from the woods, staggering from side to side, covered in mud and dried blood. Amina couldn't just pass him by, so she slowed down. She decided that if he was drunk, she wouldn't pick him up but wanted to see if he was all right. The girl put on her hooded jacket and jumped out of the car. She ran up to the man and took a closer look. "Hey, are you sick? May I help you? Where are you going? If you're headed to Accra, I can give you a ride." The man looked at her with cloudy eyes and whispered weakly, "Help me," and then he lost consciousness and collapsed by the roadside. He didn't smell of alcohol, that was for sure. Amina slapped his cheeks, pleading, "Wake up. I can't get you to the car alone. Come on, let's go." After much effort, she managed to get the man into the car and drove him to the hospital. Along the way, she tried to learn more about him, but he only managed to say that his name was Chike and moaned in pain. Amina handed her passenger over to the medical staff, making sure he received proper care. As she left, she said, "Well, I did what I could. Get well soon. All the best to you." Amina hurried back to the taxi park, realizing she had been delayed and worried about Mr. Mensa's reaction. She had forgotten about the camera in her cab, but her boss was sitting in his office, watching her every move. Furious, he reprimanded her as soon as she arrived. "What do you think you're doing? You refused to drive the client, wasted my gasoline, and spent half a day driving around homeless people. I lost so much money because of you." Amina was almost in tears as she defended herself. "Why are you talking to me like that? The client canceled the ride, and this poor man, I picked him up on my way back. What was I supposed to do? Leave him to die on the highway? Mr. Mensa shouted even louder, "You'll pay for that out of your own pocket. I'll deduct the cost of the gasoline from your salary and take away your bonus so others won't get similar ideas. Now get back to work. You're all out of control, doing whatever you want. And don't forget to clean the car, it's covered in dirt. How will decent people get in it now? Amina angrily washed the car, thinking to herself, well, that's how you get rewarded for doing good deeds. You're left with nothing. What a scoundrel Mr. Mensa is. Nothing is sacred. Exhausted and sad, she finished her shift, went home, and fell asleep immediately after taking a shower. She had no energy left. The next morning, Amina was awoken by a knock on her door. She was surprised to find 3 well-dressed men, 2 of them bodyguards, standing outside. An unpleasant older man, clearly someone important, entered without invitation and greeted her. Good morning. Your name is Amina, isn't it? You saved my son yesterday, picked him up on the road, and sent him to the hospital. I am truly grateful to you. Thank you for not letting him die. Saying this, he placed a thick envelope on the table. Amina waved her hands in amazement. No need, really. I just felt sorry for him. The poor guy was badly beaten, barely able to walk, and was in rags. How did he end up in that wooded area? The businessman seemed taken aback by the question but answered, You understand, it's an unpleasant story. My son was kidnapped by bandits and held captive in a cabin in the woods. He managed to escape miraculously and tried to make his way home. Did he say anything to you on the way? Amina shook her head. No, he didn't. He was in a lot of pain and only introduced himself as Chaik. The man grinned and said, Well, that's probably the best news today. All right, we must go. Take the money. Have a good day. Goodbye. The trio left, and Amina ran to the window and gasped. There was an entire convoy of SUVs outside. She counted 4 of them. Amina opened the envelope and saw a huge sum of money by her standards. It was clearly more than just a simple thank you. Her mind raced with questions. Something's wrong. First of all, this big shot doesn't look worried at all, not a drop of concern for his son's fate. His eyes are cold and calculating. Close family doesn't act like that. Secondly, why did he ask so much if his son had already spoken up? There's something to hide. Thirdly, how did he find out so quickly where I live? And most importantly, why did he come to me in person? This money isn't just gratitude, it must be payment for my silence. No, I must go to the hospital and check on Chaik. I need to find out what really happened to him. Luckily, it was her day off. Amina bought some treats on the way and went to the trauma department where she had left Chaik. However, she was not allowed in. Why can't I visit my friend? I won't stay long. I just want to ask how he's doing. The doctor himself came down and said strictly, Unfortunately, we can't let you in to see Chaik. He suddenly fell into a coma and is now in the intensive care unit. No visitors are allowed. Amina was shocked. A coma? But yesterday he was conscious, weak and beaten, but walking on his own. What happened to him? The doctor waved her away angrily. Why should I report to you? Who are you to him? His father is with him, he knows everything. We'll inform you when you can visit, but for now his condition is critical. Excuse me, I have other patients waiting. Amina began to leave but was caught by a nurse who whispered urgently, You're Chaik's friend, aren't you? I thought so. Something isn't right here. He's not in a real coma, he's being given strong sedatives. And it's unclear why. But I saw his father hand an envelope of money to the doctor and instruct him to make sure Chaik never leaves the hospital. It's wrong, but I have no proof. I've told you, but don't mention me, or I'll lose my job. Amina was in shock, unsure of what to do. She scolded herself, Why did I get involved again? I already have my own problems, but here I am worrying about someone else's. She couldn't sleep that night, tormented by doubts. By morning, she decided she couldn't live with herself if she didn't try to save Chaik. Her first thought was to go to the police, but she changed her mind. If the rich man had the power to buy people off, he probably had connections in the police as well. What evidence did she have? Just rumors. The worst part was that she had no one to consult. Then she remembered Ngozi, the nurse. She arranged a meeting at a cafe. Ngozi arrived, surprised but willing to listen. Amina started, I'm sorry to bother you again, but I have no one else to turn to. I need to get Chaik out of the hospital. Can you help me? Ngozi paused and said, Okay, let's think this through. I have a night shift the day after tomorrow on Saturday. The ward will be quieter, and the doctor won't be on duty. I can avoid giving him the sedative, so he should wake up in 12 to 16 hours. I'll give you a white coat, a cap, and a mask to disguise yourself as a doctor. But we have to be careful if we get caught. It'll be serious trouble." Amina let out a deep breath. "Thank you, Ngozi. I'll drive him to my place, and once he's awake, we'll decide what to do next." The plan was set. Amina was so nervous she could barely focus on her work. On the appointed night, she turned off the camera in her cab after her last ride and drove to the hospital. Disguised as a doctor, she and Ngozi wheeled Chaik out on a gurney. The hallways were eerily quiet, and every noise made her heart race. But everything went smoothly, and they loaded Chaik into Amina's car. Ngozi whispered, "Be careful, Amina. I've packed some medication and instructions. I'll go before anyone notices." Amina drove like a mad woman, constantly checking her mirrors, afraid someone was following her. She called Kofi as soon as she reached her house. "Kofi, please come help me. I need to get him inside." Shocked but not hesitating, Kofi helped carry Chaik into Amina's small apartment. "What are you doing, Amina? Why did you bring him here?" "Mr. Mensah will go mad if he finds out." "No one saw me, Kofi. I turned off the camera. Please don't betray me. I'm trying to save his life." Kofi sighed. "I know you wouldn't harm anyone, Amina, but please be careful. I have my family to think about. I won't tell anyone, but I don't want to know more." Amina returned the car to the company without incident. She checked that Chaik was breathing evenly and collapsed beside him, exhausted. "What have I gotten myself into?" she thought. "But at least I saved him. That's something." 13 hours later, Chaik opened his eyes. Disoriented, he asked, "Where am I? Aren't I in the hospital?" "You're the cab driver, right?" "Thank you." Amina smiled. "You'll have to thank me again when you hear what I did to save you." She told him everything about his stepfather, the drugs, and her own pregnancy. Chaik listened silently, then said, "He's not my father. I'll explain everything." Chaik recounted his story. His father was a successful hotel owner who was killed when Chaik was 3. His stepfather, Mr. Okoro, had taken over and raised him, using him to keep suspicions away. Chaik had recently discovered his real father's will, which left everything to him when he turned 25. And Mr. Okoro had learned of it only recently. "He wants to get rid of me to keep control of the business," Chaik concluded. Amina's eyes widened. "We need to go to the authorities." "He won't stop until he gets what he wants." Chaik agreed, and they went to the prosecutor's office. After a thorough investigation, Mr. Okoro was arrested. And the horrifying truth came out. He was behind Chaik's father's murder and the recent kidnapping. The court sentenced Mr. Okoro to life imprisonment. He shouted in court about how much he despised Amina, blaming her for everything, saying that she ruined his plans and saved the stepson he never loved. Chaik took over the company and dedicated himself to rebuilding his father's legacy. He and Amina became close friends, spending time together often. Chaik admired Amina's courage, kindness, and strength. Secretly, he had fallen in love with her but couldn't confess his feelings, fearing it would be inappropriate with her being pregnant. Amina also felt drawn to Chaik, finding comfort and safety in his presence. She kept reminding herself that he would never be interested in someone carrying another man's child. Chaik's care for her, however, only deepened her feelings. One day, while walking home from a clinic visit, Amina ran into Ngozi, who had become a dear friend since the night of Chaik's rescue. They caught up over lunch, and Amina shared her doubts about the future. Ngozi encouraged her, "Amina, trust your heart. If Chaik cares for you, he will show it in time. Don't deny yourself happiness because of what others may think." A few weeks later, Amina gave birth to a healthy baby boy she named Kwaku. Chaik was there every step of the way, his concern and affection unmistakable, as she held her son. Amina felt overwhelmed with gratitude for the life she had fought so hard to protect. Chaik looked at her with tearful eyes and whispered, "Amina, you and Kwaku are my family now. I want to be here for you both, always." In that moment, Amina's heart swelled with joy, knowing she was loved. The following months were filled with happiness as Chaik, Amina, and little Kwaku settled into life together. Chaik officially adopted Kwaku, giving him his name, and soon after, proposed to Amina in the most heartfelt way. Amina, you have shown me what true courage and love look like. Will you marry me and make this family complete? With tears streaming down her face, Amina said yes. The couple married in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by friends, including Kofi, Ajoa, and Ngozi, who beamed with pride. As Amina stood with her husband and son, she thought back to the day she met Chaik on that rain-soaked road. What had once been a moment of chance turned into a life filled with love and hope. The couple thrived, raising Kwaku in a home filled with laughter and support. Chaik continued to manage the company with integrity, honoring his father's memory, while Amina found fulfillment working part-time and being a mother. They often reflected on their journey, grateful for the trials that had led them to each other. Life wasn't just about surviving, it was about living fully, loving deeply, and finding happiness in the most unexpected places. And so, they built a life that was richer than any fortune, bound by love, trust, and an unbreakable bond. This story reminds us that acts of kindness and resilience, even in the face of personal pain, can lead to unexpected blessings. Amina's courage to help a stranger not only saved a life but brought love and hope into her own. Life's toughest moments can open doors to the greatest joy when we stay true to our hearts.